1. Author and era. The Tao Te Ching is traditionally attributed to Laozi, Old Master, a figure about whom almost nothing historically reliable is known. He may have been a Zhou dynasty archivist named Li Er, who lived in the 6th century BCE, possibly a contemporary of Confucius, who tradition says visited him and left overwhelmed. Or Laozi may be a legendary composite, and the text may be an anthology of wisdom traditions compiled between the 4th and 3rd centuries BCE. This uncertainty is philosophically appropriate. The Tao Te Ching is deeply suspicious of the authority of named persons and fixed identities. Its wisdom does not claim to originate in a single brilliant mind, but to point towards something, the Tao, that precedes and exceeds all human naming. The text emerged from a civilization at war with itself, the Warring States period, when competing philosophical schools and feudal powers vied for dominance, and a profound countercurrent asked whether the pursuit of power and cleverness was itself the problem. 2. The book's genesis. According to tradition, Laozi, weary of Zhou's decline, was departing China through the Western Pass when the gatekeeper Ying Shi asked him to write down his wisdom before he disappeared into the wilderness. He composed the Tao Te Ching, 81 short chapters, roughly 5,000 Chinese characters, and vanished. Whether historical or legendary, this story is itself a teaching, wisdom that is given freely before withdrawal, that requires no audience, no legacy, no continuation. The text was compiled in a world obsessed with strategic governance, ritual hierarchy, and philosophical disputation. Its response was to question whether any of these activities approached what most fundamentally matters. 3. Main themes. The Tao that cannot be named. The very first line establishes the central problem. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. What is the Tao? It is the source and ground of all things, the way things naturally move when unforced, and precisely because it precedes all categories, it cannot be captured in any category. Conceptualization is itself a departure from Tao Wu Wei as the mode of action appropriate to Tao. How should one act? Not through force, strategy, or clever intervention, but through Wu Wei, often translated non-action, but better understood as acting in accordance with the natural way, effortlessly, without strain. Water is the Tao Te Ching's supreme image, yielding, flowing to low places, wearing away rock without effort. Te as virtue or power. What is virtue? Te De is not moral virtue in the Confucian sense, but the inherent power or potency that things have when they are fully themselves, when they are aligned with Tao. A tree has Te when it grows unimpeded. A ruler has Te when they govern without coercion. The value of emptiness and softness. What is most useful? The Tao Te Ching consistently inverts conventional valuations. The empty space of a bowl is what makes it useful. The softness of water overcomes stone. The valley receives everything because it is low. Strength through yielding is not paradox but observation. 4. Summary. The 81 chapters of the Tao Te Ching are not organized as a sequential argument, but as a set of meditations that spiral around the same insights from different angles. The first chapter establishes the apophatic method. The Tao cannot be named, but the nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of the 10,000 things. Subsequent chapters develop the political and ethical implications. The best ruler is one whose subjects barely know they exist. When the great Tao is abandoned, benevolence and righteousness appear as compensations for what has been lost. Confucian virtues Ren, benevolence, Yi, righteousness, Li, ritual propriety, are treated not as ideals, but as symptoms of decline from a more fundamental naturalness. The middle chapters accumulate images, the valley spirit that never dies, the uncarved block Pu that contains all potential before being shaped, the female that overcomes the male through stillness. The final chapters return to political themes. The sage leader does not compete, and therefore no one can compete with them. The small country with few people is the ideal, its people content not to travel far. The text ends with a paradox that is not a puzzle but a completion. The sage does not compete, and therefore no one can compete with him. 5. Deep dive analysis. Wu Wei, non-action or effortless action, is the Tao Te Ching's most practically consequential concept and its most easily misunderstood. It is not passivity, laziness, or withdrawal from the world. It is a quality of action, action that does not force, that flows with rather than against the grain of things, that achieves its effects without leaving the marks of effort. The argument runs as follows. Most human suffering and political disorder comes from excessive intervention, rulers trying to impose order, individuals trying to force outcomes, philosophers constructing elaborate doctrines. Each intervention creates resistance, instability, and unintended consequences. Wu Wei is the alternative, acting at the level where things move themselves, working with natural processes rather than against them. This is philosophically fascinating because it is simultaneously a metaphysical claim. The Tao has a natural directionality that things follow when unimpeded, and a practical wisdom. Skilled action is invisible because it doesn't create friction. The Zhuangist cook who butchers an ox with perfect ease, finding the natural spaces between joints, is the paradigm. Maximum effect, minimum force. The strongest objection raised historically by Confucians and legalists is that Wu Wei is a counsel of quietism in a world of genuine political injustice. When people are starving or being oppressed, the natural thing is precisely to intervene forcefully. The Tao Te Ching's response is that force-based intervention creates cycles of counterforce, and that the deepest transformations happen when conditions are right, not when they are imposed. Whether this is profound wisdom or comfortable evasion depends partly on the situation, and the Tao Te Ching never pretends otherwise. 6. Key terms and ideas. Tao, Chinese, dot, the way, the source, ground, and pattern of all existence. Neither a personal God nor a mere abstraction, the Tao is the unnameable principle from which all things emerge and to which they return. It precedes heaven and earth and cannot be grasped by concepts. T, Chinese, Da, virtue or power, the expression of Tao in individual things. Not moral virtue in a prescriptive sense, but the natural potency of something fully itself. The T of water is to flow, yield, and nourish. The T of a ruler is to lead without coercion. Wu Wei, Chinese, Wu Wei, non-action or effortless action, acting in harmony with the natural flow of things rather than imposing one's will. The mode of action appropriate to one who is aligned with Tao, not inactivity but action without forcefulness. Pu, Chinese, Pu, the uncarved block, a recurring image of original, undivided nature before it is shaped by culture, knowledge, or desire. The sage returns to Pu not through regression, but through an achieved simplicity that contains all potential. Zai Ran, Chinese, Ziran, naturalness, self-sowness, the quality of being what one is, without external compulsion or artificial effort, often translated nature, but more precisely, the way things are when they follow their own nature without interference. Yin, Chinese, Yin, the yielding, dark, soft, receptive principle, the female. The Tao Te Ching consistently valorizes yin qualities over yang, active, hard, bright, not because yin is better, but because culture systematically undervalues it, and the correction is urgent. 7. Conclusion. The Tao Te Ching permanently challenged the assumption that intelligence, effort, and intervention are the primary routes to good outcomes, whether in governance, relationships, or personal cultivation. Its influence on Chan Zen Buddhism is foundational. Its influence on Chinese landscape painting, poetry, and medicine is pervasive. Its influence on Western thought arrived through Leibniz, Thoreau, and 20th century ecological philosophy. Heidegger reportedly said that if he had encountered the Tao Te Ching earlier, he might have written differently, and the resonances between Wu Wei and Gelassenheit, releasement, are genuine. The most unresolved question, can Wu Wei be taught, cultivated, or deliberately practiced, or does the very effort to practice it destroy the naturalness that is its essence? The essential spirit of the Tao Te Ching, the way that forces nothing is the way that sustains everything. Open it, and you will find that 5,000 characters is enough to unsettle a lifetime of assumptions about what power, wisdom, and goodness require.